Hello fellow simmers, it's Samuel Beeman of BLS here and welcome to my next Train Simulator Classic video. Now today we're going to be looking at something from Signal Box Developments. It is a reskin pack for the Dovetail Games Class 20 or XIHH Class 20s. So this is a pack that utilises the Dovetail Games Huron Peninsula re-release, so London Transport Heritage Collection Class 20 and the Marketplace Rail Freight Class 20s. And yeah, so they are the two requirements for the pack. Upon downloading, I must admit the README file is very confusing. I do find that it is quite confusing to, you know, the installation instructions are not very clear, to say the least. It took me a little while to understand what to install and where. It wasn't very clear on how to install the 2142 reskin, as it didn't really name which geo went where. You've just kind of got to assume, you know, that it's obviously from the LT pack 1, which you just, you know, obviously if you've got, you know, the right frame of mind, you can kind of guess that. But obviously if you're quite new to installing reskins, that is a bit of an issue. The other one, again, didn't really understand how exactly to install it. It was also like some folders, like for example, I think the 2142 named version of 2142 is named, well, the folder is called 2189 or something. It's quite confusing, the installation on these, but nevertheless we got them working in the end regardless of that. So we're going to have a little look around them today and just basically, you know, I'll share my thoughts and opinions on the reskins, and then we'll give a little drive of them along a route to finish off. So this is a pack that I had been following for quite some time. It's one that I was really quite excited for, to be honest, because it is great to have some Class 20 reskins in Train Sim Classic, because they are relatively rare, and there are reasons for this. Mainly due to the fact that it is very difficult to reskin a Class 20 in Train Simulator. It is undoubtedly one of the hardest locomotives to reskin, which is why we do have a relatively low amount of reskins available for the class. But anyhow, here they are, and we can see them placed down on the British Locomotive Studios Mid-Norfolk Railway route, which is still a heavy work in progress and has been for years. When is it going to be released? I do not know. It is basically on the back burner for now, because you know, there's many like obstacles that we've got to hurdle over before we can even think about releasing it. It's a long process, but you know, eventually it will get there in the end, I'm sure. But as of now, it's not, you know, on the cards. So that just in case anyone is wondering about that. But yeah, so this pack contains two Class 20 reskins, the first being 2142 with nameplates, so it's basically the default 2142 reskin, just with added nameplates on the side and named as a separate asset, as it were, a separate entity, so it's obviously got a separate bin. And then you've got 2189 to the left hand side, and these have ran together a couple of times, I believe. I think these ran together at one of the Severn Valley Railway galas, which is what gave Signal Box Developments inspiration to make these. So let's have a little look around, shall we? So let's start off with 2142. It's just your bog standard Dovetail Games London Transport Class 20 with nameplates on it and shed codes. Obviously the livery is nicely applied. It's not the best, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, but this is some of DCG's issues with this. You can certainly see, you know, sort of bits of white bleed in areas, which is a bit naff, but that's something on Dovetail Games' end. This is not anything that Signal Box has done. This is as default, I believe. So yeah, you've just got to be aware of that. It's a bit of a mess. It's not the best skin in the world. It never was, but it is, you know, the best London Transport Class 20 that we have at the moment in game. So I can understand, you know, why they've used it. So the main thing that we're going to be looking at for this reskin is the Sir John Benjamin nameplate. So this is the extra edition that has been added by Signalbox Developments to the locomotive. So if anyone is interested in downloading these, I will link them in the description of the video so you can have a look. But yeah, so this is the nameplate itself, which to be fair is not that bad. It's certainly not the worst 3D nameplate that I've seen. I've seen some really bad ones out there, to be honest, and this is not one of them. It is nicely done. The texturing is not too bad on it. We've got a nice shed plate to go along with it as well, and bear in mind that that shed plate is 3D as well. We've got 3D numbering and lettering on there. The texturing on the plate itself is not brilliant. I mean, you can see the pixels there quite clearly, and yeah, it's not the best texturing in the world. And I do find that the main nameplate itself is a little bit too thick. I feel that the especially, you know, that the frame around the edges needs to be a bit more thinner. That's probably like 2 or 3 times the size of what it's actually meant to be. It needs to be more sort of inwards. It's far too chunky. But apart from that, it's not too bad. You know, the texturing isn't terrible. It's got a nice sort of ripple effect on the backboard of the nameplate there, which is looking really quite smart. Some of the alphas in places look a bit odd, like you can see, you know, as I say, a bit pixely around the edges. But it's, as I say, it's not the worst in the world, and it's certainly, you know, it's nice to have it on there, and it does look, you know, look quite smart. It's good to have a updated version of 2142 in the game, so it's the best we have at the moment, in my opinion. So now we're going to head over to 2189, and this is where the problems are starting to come about on this particular version. Okay, so bear in mind, guys, that both of these require the Armstrong Powerhouse sound pack as well, and I will come on to one of the issues I have in a minute regarding that. But yeah, let's have a look at 189. So you can see here that already we do have a few little problems here and there, because this is actually the wrong variant of Class 20 to be using for 2189, because 2189, believe it or not, actually has a 4-character headcode box and not a Dominoes box. If this was 2205, it would be a little bit more forgiving, because that does have the Dominoes box. But as this is 2189, this is technically not the correct variant of Class 20 to be using for it, which is a little bit of a downside. I recently picked this up by looking at photos, so yeah, that is something that kind of does let it down slightly. This high intensity light on the back here is just as it is a child object. It is not a working headlight. It is just there for display purposes. So obviously, if we select this loco and then we'll try and put the headlight on, it doesn't work. As you can see, it's only the Dominoes, you know, that turns on, which is not too much of an issue as long as it's there. You know, it's there on display. As long as it's there, it's all okay. You know. But there are some other bits and pieces with this that I have picked up on, which I don't like. And if we head over to the Scotty dog, which, you know, look at the plate itself. Yeah, do you know what? That's not too bad. You can see, you know, that it is nicely implemented. The texturing isn't terrible. It looks pretty nice. You know, it's a nice depot plate there. It's looking smart. However, if we slowly move round to the edge, we can start to see a little bit of a problem. So we can see there that it is actually on the piss, and it is not flush to the body side. The left-hand side of the plate is indeed flush to the body, which is looking, you know, as it should, but you can see the entire right side is on the piss, and is yeah, it's not good. It is clearly off the body side there, so that is a bit of a problem there, and this is something that should have been picked up within testing, I think. If we head over to the other side though, however, on the Scotty dog, this side, as far as I can see, is not too bad. That is fixed to the body side. That's not floating as far as I can see. So this one is all okay, but the left-hand side near the nose is not okay. That is an issue there, which needs rectifying with the child object. But yeah, so It's 2189. To be honest, it looks more like 2205. To be honest, it would probably be better if this was a reskin of 2205 instead of 189, because 189, as I say, has the 4-character Headco box and not dominoes. But we can just leave that aside for now. I've said my bit on that, and let's have a little look at the shed code. So the shed code at the front, again, not too bad. In fact, I'll go as far to say that the texturing on the shed codes on this particular reskin is better than the shed code on the 2142 reskin. You can see here that the texturing on that is definitely a lot better than 2142's shed plate texturing. So to be fair, he's done a better job on this one than he has on this shed plate over here. As you can see, it's very, very pixelated to oppose to this one here. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the sounds a little bit. So this requires the Armstrong Powerhouse sound pack, okay? So we'll head over to 2142 to start off with. So we'll turn the light on. We'll have a little play of the horn. So we can hear here we have a playable 2-tone horn as standard with Armstrong Powerhouse's sound pack. Okay. If we head over to 2189 and attempt to do exactly the same thing, the B key horn doesn't work, so we don't have a 2-tone horn on that, which is a bit of an issue. If we head into the cab of 2142, we can hear that we have all of the appropriate in-cab sounds. Obviously, you can hear the engine whir within the cab. Okay. Now we head into 189. We have nothing. No sound at all, apart from brake release. No engine whir or anything like that. You know, no engine sounds when you apply power. So it's clear to me to see that the AP sounds are not implemented on this reskin properly. They need to be looked at within the bin file and added to the reskin properly. It hasn't been done. But this, as you can hear, we can hear the engine whir, and it works as it should do. So yeah, so there are definitely some issues with this reskin pack. It needs to have a bit of a look at. It's not 100% as it should be. As I say, the 4-character Headco box thing is a bit annoying, because it could have used this, but then I realised that the issue with that would be that 2142's headlight positioning on the nose is actually in the wrong place to opposed to where 2189's headlight positioning should be. So I think that's one of the primary reasons to why Signalbox did not use 2142 as a base for 2189's reskin. But there are ways around 2189's reskin, I would say. Whether they'll look into it in the future, I don't know. But yeah, there is a few things with this that I think do need improving, in my opinion. As I say, the README wasn't very. It just wasn't as informative as it could be. There's issues with child objects on this. There's issues with sounds. The overall reskin of 2189 is actually the wrong loco theoretically. I mean, I suppose it's good for a placeholder, but that's about it. It could be done differently. But anyhow, now that we've had a look round the reskins and I've shared my thoughts and opinions of the overall pack, to finish off, we're just going to have a little run along a route to just finish up the video for you to enjoy a bit of driving before we end off. So I hope you've enjoyed my look around the reskins and this has been informative to you. Signalbox developments, obviously I don't mean to be critical. It's just a brutally honest review. Okay, it's a brutally honest review to me. This is obviously, people may have other opinions about it, and but this is as I've got it out of the box, and there are issues with this, and it needs rectifying. So, without further ado, let's head over to a route and drive these two in a pair. However, I will be driving 2142 as the leading loco, because that is the only one that has the sounds that actually work properly. So that's what we're going to do. So, see you guys in a bit. So here we are then, guys, inside 2142 on the OTS Midland Railway Centre Butterly, which is a really good route actually. I highly recommend picking it up. I shall also link it in the description of the video as well if you're interested in getting hold of the route. But yes, so here we are inside the cab. One of the issues with the standard issues with the Dovetail Games Class 20 X IHH or Iron Horse House Class 20 is that the train brake handle is actually the wrong way round. So you can see here that we're currently in the obviously emergency / off position on the brake, which should be currently in the release position now where it's facing. So even though it's releasing there, that is not the release position. That is wrong. So that is just a typical issue with the RSC, well, Dovetail Games / Iron Horse House Class 20. Nothing to do with the reskin. We've got opening and closing windows, which I do like on this, to be fair. That is a really nice feature. It's an addition that was added by Dovetail Games, I believe, because I don't think the IHH one did that originally. But yeah, we can see here we've got 2142 and 2189 behind. Something I didn't really talk about was the livery application itself on 2189, and I'm going to be brutally honest with you, the livery application is pretty good. As far as I can see from pictures of 2189, the shade of blue is not too bad, actually. It is quite spot on. It could use with perhaps being a little darker or a slight difference in shade, but it's not too bad. It definitely does the trick, and he's done well in the means of the livery application. There are a few problems with this, which I have noticed. For example, these lamp irons down here, you can see sort of a bleed between black and yellow. I don't know what that's all about. You can see, yeah, the lamp irons are looking a bit dodge. There are other little bits and pieces here and there. For example, you can see a bit of blue on the clips here, which could use with fixing. That's a bit of a problem. But apart from that, livery application isn't too bad, and yeah, it's looking okay. And I'm loving the weathering on the roof, but then I believe that is standard to the Dovetail Games 20. That's not something that he's added. Something I have noticed as well is that the headlight doesn't actually, the colour of the headlight doesn't actually match with the yellow on the front, but I think that is something that is the same on 142 as well. Yeah, it is slightly. I think that's a Dovetail Games issue personally, but yeah, it doesn't match up. But anyway, yeah, so we'll get going towards Swanwick. Make sure our road is set, which it is. Obviously the signal's not gone off, it's probably approach control. But we'll see them AP sounds in action, and we'll see that they work perfectly on this particular, well, on 142 anyway. So, let's put ourselves into forward and get ourselves underway. Yeah, it's approach control, signal's gone off now. Yeah, so sound implementation on 142 is done as it should be. It is definitely working with the AP sounds. But 189 definitely isn't. And you can also tell by the rail joints. You can hear the rail joints are definitely Kuji rail joints. the AP sounds haven't been added properly on 189. You can hear the difference. We've got rail joints, Armstrong Powerhouse rail joints on 142, but Coogee ones on 189. Just need to check that we are actually heading into the right road here at Swanwick, which we are not, but we are now. But yeah, this route is really nice. It's an impressive route. Definitely recommend getting hold of it. But yeah, although I like these Class 20 reskins and I admire the efforts by Signal Box Developments, they've definitely, you know, put the effort in to make these objects, and they don't look too bad. I definitely feel that there is some testing issues here. You know, there's a lot of faults with 2189. There's a lot of issues. The sounds obviously aren't implemented properly. The depot plate is on the piss on one side. The lamp irons are, you know, not technically the correct colour. There's some bleeds of livery in certain places there shouldn't be, like on the clips. And yeah, it's also got the wrong head code variant. So it's, you know, there is definitely some issues with that which could be rectified, and, you know, to overall improve it. But I suppose it's good for a scenario placeholder. That's basically what I can say about it. With how it stands at the moment, 189 is only really good for a scenario placeholder. It's not something that you can drive, because obviously the sounds don't work properly on it, and yeah, it's basically just not drivable really. 142 is, obviously, as you can see, obviously driving it now, and you know, we've got the nameplates and everything on it, so 2142 is fine. 189 is not fine. That has problems. That is not a good reskin. It's, yeah, well, I say a good reskin. It's an okay reskin. It's not too bad, but it's not brilliant. You know, it's got some issues with it. Right, so what we'll do is we'll drive down to the run round loop, which I forget what the name is. We'll drive to Riddings, and then we'll stop the video there and call it a day. In the means of drivability, how Dovetail Games' Class 20 actually drives, it's not terrible, to be fair. It drives relatively okay, but there is, you know, the brake issue is just a massive problem in itself. And obviously it wouldn't say it's the best DLC. And if you do get this, or get these, it is so recommended to have the Armstrong Powerhouse sound pack installed. If you don't have the AP sound pack, the Dovetail Games Class 20 is just terrible. It's got the crappy iron horsehouse sounds, which are just terrible and sound like you're chucking a brick inside a washing machine. It's just not good. So if you are to get the Dovetail Games Class 20s, make sure you have the Armstrong Powerhouse sound pack if you are to get any enjoyment out of them whatsoever. Because the sounds are crap. And if you do get the London Transport Class 20 for Train Simulator and you're wondering, and you have got the Armstrong Powerhouse sound pack installed and are wondering why the sound pack doesn't work with the LT Class 20, you know, the Heritage Collection one, that is because it wasn't technically designed for it. However, we do have a patch over at British Locomotive Studios which patches the Armstrong Powerhouse sounds onto the London Transport 2142 reskin included with the LT Heritage Collection. So I will also link that in the description as well if you are interested in getting that sound patch for your London Transport 2142 reskin. So, single box developments, a little, you know, bit of trivia for you while we're here and obviously on our way to Riddings. Signal box developments are, basically they were born out of British Rail Sim Centre. They were originally known as British Rail Sim Centre and then basically rebranded as Signal Box Developments. So they are still relatively new to the train sim community. So obviously they are still learning, and to be honest, to even make child objects at this early stage of being within the train sim community is very impressive, so I give them credit for that. It took us a good few years until we got into doing 3D objects and modelling itself. Well, only 2 of our guys can actually do it out of the 10 that we have. So it is a very, very difficult thing to get into, so I do give them credit for making the 3D assets that they have done for these reskins. They have done a really nice job on them, regardless of, you know, the issues, or I wouldn't really say issues, I would say more of teething troubles. You know, it's the criticism I've given on the objects themselves are just more how to improve the objects, and not necessarily saying that they are not good, because they are good. They just need a bit of fine-tuning to make that a little bit more better. I've not driven this route for a while, guys, so obviously, you know, that's what I quickly, you know, braked, because I didn't realise there was a 10-mile-an-hour speed restriction over here. I haven't really driven this route very often. It's one I would like to drive a little bit more often, but there's not really many scenarios made for this route, so it could be something perhaps potentially I could look into in the future. I am interested in perhaps making some scenario packs for this. If you're interested, guys, in having any scenario packs for the Midland Railway Centre, obviously let me know in the comments, you know, because would you like to see me make some? If you do, let me know. I have a potential idea up my sleeve. I'm not going to give anything away, but I have a potential idea for a potential reskin related with Midland Railway Centre. Obviously I'm not going to give that away. I've got an idea, I've got a plan. How long does this 10-mile-an-hour go on for? Presumably a while. To be fair, considering the amount of issues that have been obviously shown off here within this 2142 and 2189 reskin pack, I am actually awfully surprised that no one has picked this up. Because bear in mind that these reskins were released last month, you know, so it's not like, well, not even last month. I believe it was around end of August, sort of September time. You know, it's been a while. They've been out for a little while, and I'm really surprised no one has picked up the problems. And there we have it, folks. So that was the Signal Box Developments 2142 and 2189 reskin pack for Train Simulator Classic. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video and you have found this review informative. Overall, I would say the pack is average, and it does have a lot of issues that need rectifying. I give it credit for obviously the inclusion of 3D child objects, but there is a lot of issues, and yeah, I can't say that it's 100%, and I can't say that it is brilliant, because it isn't, and I'm really sorry, guys. I can't help but just be honest, be brutally honest, and I hope that the video is informative so that you guys can have a look at it and think, oh, do you know what, we're gonna fix this, we're gonna make it better, and implement some of these, some of this feedback that we're getting from this video, because as well, I'd like to hope that this video is giving you guys some inspiration to improve the reskin pack itself, because well, we'll see what obviously the future has to hold, and yeah, I hope that everyone has enjoyed watching this video. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments if there's any other videos that you would like me to look at, or if there's any reviews that you would like to see, or just general bits and pieces. And yeah, I'll see you guys in another video. This has been Sammy with BLS, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye for now.